Amen.
All right.
Okay. I will share my screen.
All right.
Okay. So here is my presentation. This is the question that I got from from this class, and this is to explore the roles and representations of women during the time of judges and kings, analyze the figures such as Deborah and Bathsheba, discussing their influence and societal norms surrounding women in leadership roles. Okay, so I will start. So first is about the representation of women during the time of judges and kings. Uh, I think it's better I can show this way. So here first, women as leaders and figures of authority during the time of judges and kings. So I just have some example here. We have Deborah. We know last time we have already heard about this in our class as well about Deborah as the only a female judge in the book of Judges. And he is a prophetess as well and held a prominent leadership role, dispensing justice and leading the Israelites to victory against the Canaanites. And later I will share more about her. The next is Jael. Actually, Jael is not Israelites, but as I have read in Judges, I think around chapter 4, a non-Israelite woman. He is a Kenite woman whom, after Sisera's defeat in battle, kills him in her tent. This act of courage and defiance against a powerful enemy further exemplifies the agency and influence women could wield in this era. So, um, it was also in the time of Deborah. Sisera was I think, the chief in the military, and he was defeated and he was killed by a woman, Jael. Next is the women in domestic and religious roles. So we have here the domestic spheres remain their primary domain. They were responsible for household tasks and raising children. And Abigail is known for her wisdom and courage, maintaining peace and stability within the community. Abigail is also David's wife. And there was also a story where she also had some words with King David and with his was that, I think, assistant or in the military, Nabal. And then Huldah, a prophetess, was consulted by King Josiah on matters of religious law. So, and then women's role during monarchy as well. We have there Bathsheba, the wife of Uriah the Hittite, became the mother of Solomon, the future king. She has influenced Solomon in his early years, shaping political events. So we also know the story of Bathsheba, also on how about her story and David's story, but aside from that, also she had a big influence to his son Solomon in raising him since he was young. Then, despite the examples of strong and influential women, the period of the judges and kings was largely patriarchal. So, women faced limitations in their legal rights, social mobility, and access to education. So, they were generally expected to be subservient to men. So, they should be under the authority of men, and their voices were often silenced or marginalized. So, we knew about this part about women's limitation and challenges during those times. Then Now I want to share to you about Deborah and Bathsheba. So Deborah, she's a prophetess and a judge. She held a position of authority, dispensing justice and leading the Israelites to victory against the Canaanites. And her story in the book of Judges, chapter 4 and 5, showcases her exceptional leadership skills, strategic acumen, and spiritual guidance. In military leadership, so Deborah orchestrated the Israelites' victory against Sisera. So earlier we have heard his name also, and Jael is the one who killed him, and Deborah is a Canaanite general. No, Sisera was a Canaanite general by mobilizing troops under the leadership of Barak, and they were defeated under uh, the leadership of Deborah. And in the spiritual authority, she is also a prophetess, and she was recognized as the conduit for divine guidance since she was a prophet. She was a prophetess. Next, in justice and peace, Deborah served as a judge, dispensing justice and resolving disputes among the people, even though she's a woman. But God has also called her to lead the people of Israel and help them in in dispensing justice and resolving disputes among people. Then here is Bathsheba, a woman of influence and power. Although in the story we can see women just like just a wife or just a mother, but they have influenced the many in many parts. So the story of Bathsheba is narrated in the book of Kings, and then Second Samuel 11 to 12, and then where her encounter with King David leads to a series of events that shape the course of the monarchy. Though her initial involvement in the story is tragic, she emerges as a woman of agency and influence, challenging the king's authority and navigating the complexities of power. So we know also how he was um, he was taken by King David, and with that, David also has sinned against God. Then she is a woman of influence in which part? So even though she's a woman in a patriarchal society, asserted herself with King David, demanding justice for the death of her husband Uriah. We know how also it happened where when King David asked that Uriah should be put in the front in a war where they will be defeated. So it's like David has planned the death of Uriah. So she challenged the king's authority and ultimately secured his promise to make their son Solomon his successor, the son of David and Bathsheba. Next, in political power, Bathsheba's influence on Solomon's reign, but particularly in the early years. So, like what I have said earlier, it is Bathsheba who raised Solomon. And we know also one of the important part in in the life of the kings is about the parents, especially the women who takes care, who's raising children, and she has influenced Solomon a lot about this. And then a mother's love. Bathsheba's action throughout the story are driven by a mother's love for her son, and um, yes. Then now the societal norms and women in leadership. So what was women's role in that time? So while the stories of Deborah and Bathsheba demonstrate the potential of women to hold positions of influence, they also highlight the limitations imposed by societal norms. They is still limited. So that's why we do not see a lot of women as well to have a really prominent role in this book of Judges and Kings, uh, s- because of the limitations. First is the patriarchal society. So during that time, almost all of men are the leaders in the authorities, the judge and the kings. Ancient Israel society was largely patriarchal, with men holding the majority of power and authority. Women were generally expected to be subservient to men, and their voices were often silenced or marginalized. So, yes, if they are not in the authority, they were not allowed to. Um, they were often silenced or marginalized. Then they also have limited legal rights. Um, their access to education and property ownership was restricted. These limitations hindered their ability to fully participate in public life and pursue leadership roles. So it's hard for them to be in the leadership role unless it is God who put them in the position. And then exceptions to the rule, the stories of Deborah and Bathsheba represent exceptions to the rule. So their ability to exert influence was often tied to specific circumstances, such as divine intervention or relationship with powerful men. So in this part, we can see uh, most, as we know that as they are in the position, it is according to God's will, and that's why they are also in the position. And there are also many women in the Bible that has influenced a lot of influenced Israelites and even in the leadership. But here also in Judges and Kings, we can see this part. So yes, that's all in my presentation. Uh, thank you.
All right, thank you, Teacher Rafa. I think I should say it was very brief and then precise. But here I just wanted to add, in my part, a kind of an overview just to supplement.
Mhm.
Yeah, during in the ancient Israel, during the time of the ancient Israel, like the time of the judges and then the kings, yes, women play a complex role. That often reflected the societal norms of their time, of those ancient time. Here we have many women, like while many women were primarily seen in, say, in domestic roles, like, say, especially figures like Deborah and then Bathsheba, they are, emerge as a influential leader, you know, challenging all those traditional expectation and then all those limitation, in those time. Here, if you see the Deborah, the life of Deborah, I think she is a leader. She's a leader, and then at the same time, she is a prophet. So, and then if you see, uh, like in the book of Judge, I think Deborah, she stand out very remarkable figures. And then she was not only a prophetess, but also a judge, which was a significant leadership role in Israel. So here, I think his leadership, I mean, her leadership, uh, was characterized by his wisdom and then the courage. So she led the Israelites to victory against the Canaanites, and then demonstrating that women could hold, you know, the authority, a position of authority, and then can be a very much influential, in a patriarchal society. So say her story particularly, which is like texted in Judges chapter 4 and then the 5. It highlights there we see her ability to inspire and then even to mobilize men, as she commanded Barak to gather the troops and then to be ready to go into the battle, right? So here, if you see her role, challenges the societal norms, like some norms of the society during her time, because as she operated in a male dominated kind of an environment, patriarchal society. So her leadership was not merely a symbolic, or it was effective and then transformative, like showing that even women could lead with strength and conviction. So this representation of Deborah suggests that while the women are often relegated to supportive roles, there were exceptions, where they could even rise to prominence, based on their abilities, and then at the same time, yes, the divine calling. And then say, as you had also mentioned, like another figure, if you see the Bathsheba, yes, uh, Bathsheba, the wife of King David, and then the mother of Solomon, right? Represent, another dimension of woman's role during this period. And then, like initially portrayed in a controversial light due to her relationship with David, here Bathsheba's influence grew a very, significantly as she navigated, the the political landscape. I mean, the political landscape of the court. I mean, the royal court. So after the death of his husband, that means after David's death. So she plays a crucial role in ensuring that uh, his son, Solomon, ascension to the throne. Advocating, for her son, against the potential rivals. So if you see her story illustrates the much complexities, of women's power in a man-dominated society, a patriarchal society. So, while she may not have held formal authority, but her action and then her decision had a profound impact on the political norms or the dynamics of this trial. So, I think this reflects some norms in the society, where women often exercise the influence indirectly, right? Using their relationship and then position to affect the changes. So, as it's mentioned in your presentation, say like the societal norms, surrounding women during the time of the judges and then the kings, it often confined them to domestic roles, like focusing only on the family, and then their duty is to support for men in the family. But among all these things, like we see today, the figures like Deborah and then Bathsheba, through their stories, demonstrate that women could transcend this limitation, right? So their story can be, like stories reveal that, while women were often, say, marginalized in the historical narrative, but, they could still uh, exert, significant influence in their leadership, when given a chance and or an opportunity to hold the post, right? So if you see the presence of women leadership, such as the Deborah's, direct leadership in the battle, and then the Bathsheba's political, maneuvering, suggesting that there was a recognition of women's capabilities, even if it was not a norm during that time, that their society, their the norms of the society. So I think sometimes this their role, their life, you know, the examples of Deborah and then the Bathsheba, I think sometimes it challenges the traditional view of women's role, in ancient strife. So I think highlighting that women could be powerful agent of change within their communities. So I think it can be a really a role model in the life of many women, through their through these figures that we can encourage. Yes, like their story not only reflects the complexities of the women's experience in ancient Israel, but also they serve as a very powerful examples of how women can lead and impact the society in a very strong way, in a very meaningful ways. So yeah, I think that is the reason why I just took this topic. I think none other than you could come up with a very precise and then the clear elaboration. So I was very being careful when, like dividing the topics among three of you. So I think, yeah, as I said, it was very brief and then it was very precise. So thank you. I was told that missionary Johan, he won't be able to join, and then Pastor Joy, he is not well, so he said he won't be able to present live here. But anyhow, we wanted to see their papers, but I will check their paper first here since they will not be presenting. I will just check their papers, and then I will inform even the missionary Johan to send his assignment, and then yeah, I will check, and then that's how I will do the marking system for this subject. And then hopefully maybe in the next subject is the ecclesiology. I think ecclesiology, we have a very, I think, yeah, we have the professors, but almost all the professors are busy. So I don't know, who will be taking up that subject, but most probably for now, I think even next week also the ecclesiology, I might take up that subjects. So I think, yeah, for the day, for this subject, this will be the end. So like, I think due to their health issue and then they could not present, but anyhow we can understand, and then we'll see you in the next subjects. I think we can wrap it up for tonight for this subject. So before we end, I think, is there anything that to supplement?